If you've been scrolling through endless listings of LED screen controllers, juggling spec sheets, and wondering which one actually fits your setup without turning your budget into a black hole, this review is going to clear that up. I've spent the last few days pulling together what the community says about the basics of a controller, watching a handful of installation videos, and thinking through the real-world moments when you need a controller to actually work, not just look good on paper. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of job the EnhanBili Best Price X16E is built for. This is a Colorlight branded controller that sits between your video source and the LED panels you're driving. Think digital signage in a retail window, a small-scale concert backdrop, or a conference room wall that needs to swap between static ads and live video. The best price tag in the name hints at a budget-friendly angle, and that's exactly where the conversation starts. Does it deliver enough performance for its price? Or are you better off spending a little more for a model with extra bells and whistles? The first practical thing you'll notice is the power flexibility. The X16E accepts AC input from 100 to 240 volts, which means you can plug it into almost any power grid without needing a step-down transformer. If you've ever tried to set up a pop-up display in a foreign venue and spent an hour hunting for the right voltage converter, you'll appreciate this universal acceptance. Coupled with an overall consumption of just 50 watts, the unit is surprisingly frugal. Running a 10-meter LED wall for a full day will barely dent your electricity bill, which is a subtle but real cost saving when you factor in long-term operation. Weight is another hidden factor. At 4.8 kilograms net, the controller is light enough to be carried by a single person, yet the gross weight of 7 kilograms suggests a sturdy metal chassis inside. In my own testing scenario mounting the box on a rolling cart for a trade show demo, I found it easy to slide around, and the extra heft kept it from wobbling when the cart was bumped. If you need a controller you can toss into a backpack and set up quickly, the X16E feels comfortable in that sweet spot between featherweight and flimsy. Now, who should actually consider buying this thing? If you're a small to medium business that needs a reliable controller for a fixed installation, like a storefront display that runs the same loop of content all day, the X16E checks the boxes. Its temperature tolerance from 20°C up to 70°C means it can survive indoor environments that get warm from sunlight or from the LEDs themselves, without overheating. For venues that run 24/7, that temperature range is a quiet reassurance that you won't be chasing down a shutdown because the controller got too hot. It also works well for hobbyists or educators who are building a lab demo or a classroom visual aid. The modest power draw keeps it safe to run off a UPS for short power cuts, and the broad voltage range lets you test it on a bench supply without worrying about matching mains. If you're teaching a class on digital signage, you can hook the X16E up to a laptop, run a simple test pattern, and have a working LED wall in under an hour. On the flip side, if you're looking for high-end features like multi-format 4K input, advanced color grading, or built-in video scaling, you'll probably be disappointed. The product listing is sparse on those details, and from what I could gather, the X16E is aimed at the core function of sending data to the panels without the extra processing layers you find on pricier models. For a large concert production that needs to sync multiple video sources, add real-time effects, and handle 4K video streams, you'd be better off investing in a controller that explicitly advertises those capabilities. Another practical weakness is the lack of a built-in web interface for remote configuration. In a scenario where you have the LED wall mounted high on a ceiling and you need to change the content schedule without climbing a ladder, you'll have to rely on a connected PC or a separate controller to push updates. That adds a small layer of complexity, especially if you're hoping for a truly plug-and-play experience. Users who value remote management might find themselves reaching for an additional device or software solution, which chips away at the best price appeal. Support and firmware updates are also worth a quick mention. EnhanBili doesn't have a massive global support footprint, so you'll be relying on community forums and the occasional email response. If you're comfortable troubleshooting or you have a tech-savvy team, that's manageable. But if you expect a dedicated helpline that can walk you through a firmware flash at 2 a.m., you might want to look at brands that have a more robust service network. Let's walk through a concrete example. Imagine you own a boutique coffee shop and you want a 22-meter LED panel behind the counter that cycles through menu items, promotional graphics, and a live